A big thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this week's video. If you need a website or a domain, go to squarespace.com/James for 10% off your first purchase. I'm bravely hiding in the bus stop while it's particularly heavy, but it's not getting any lighter. So I think I'm just gonna have to get out into it. I've got waterproof trousers on, so I think I'll be fine, but yeah. First time wearing waterproof trousers actually here in Wales for years. They do say to begin your video with an interesting fact or a hook of some description. I've started this one by talking about waterproof trousers. There's always the next video. Right. Does anybody know how or why I'm suffering with my allergies today? I didn't think pollen counts existed on days when you needed waterproof trousers, but my eyes are killing me, which tells me that pollen counts do exist on days like this, which I've just never noticed before. Right, let me talk you through the game plan for this video, which, believe it or not, is not supposed to be me just hiding in bus stops and moaning about my hay fever. Basically, I am about halfway through my out of office project now. My 6-month project where I try to document the area that I live in, which is here, North Wales. We're about 3 months through. I'm definitely not halfway through in terms of output though. I don't think I have 60 photos that I would happily include in a book. So I'm behind, but it's summer now, believe it or not. And I like shooting in summer, so fingers crossed I can claw myself back. And on my Google Maps, I have several pots saved, pots of pins for this project. And one of them is called atmospheric. And this week, while conditions look like they're going to be like this, I'm going to try and tackle those atmospheric locations. So yeah, that's the game plan for this video over the next few days. But yeah, the sun's coming out a bit, which is, it wasn't forecast. I'm going to scupper my plans. Keep raining. Well, that's just delightful. As grateful as I've been to my car today for giving me some shelter from time to time, I actually really wish I'd come out on my bike, because I just find often when you're noticing things to shoot on days like this, by the time you find somewhere to pull over, you're like 3 miles away. And then you probably end up just as wet as if you're on a bike. Well, you didn't have to walk crazy distances. I mean, you'd have to cycle, but I do find it much easier to pull over on a bicycle than in a car, which, I mean, is very obvious, but I wish I was on my bike. Yeah. Midges everywhere. The forecast for this evening suggests that basically anything could happen. We might get a really nice sunset, or the rain could be biblical. And I was hoping for either of those, because I've not really got anything that excites me yet in this video, and hence why I'm on the bike this evening. I'm basically doing a 5-mile loop, and I did consider doing it on foot, but then I thought, well, if the light's constantly changing and you're on foot and you're 2 miles from something that you think could work in that particular light, you're kind of stuck if it's constantly changing. Whereas on a bike, I can scoot to more than one location in light that maybe lasts 10 or 15 minutes and get multiple shots. At the minute though, I've got nothing, because we've got meh. Tomorrow morning is supposed to be biblical rain, so maybe I'll come back then on foot, because I probably won't need a second bite of any particular shots if conditions aren't shifting. Right, I'm gonna have to move. This is horrible. Every year you forget about the wrath of midges until you experience it again. Well, it's about 12 hours later, give or take, and I'm out for one more loop on foot. I didn't really get anything last night. Conditions were, as I said, a little bit meh. But this morning they're much more predictable and dramatic for the most part. So hopefully I'll benefit from that, and then we'll move on to another location that I want to get to, another couple of locations I want to get to today. There's a breeze also this morning, which is nice because it means the midges are gone. And I've got no allergies this morning, which is very welcome too. I am tired though. I'm always tired at the moment. And I've been to the doctors, they've done tests and stuff, and they can't find anything wrong with me. Obviously, I'm a specimen, look at me. And then of course they remind you that you've got 2 young kids. And then they give you a look, which sort of says, why are you wasting my time? It's obviously that. Probably is that. Anyway, let's crack on. I am now amongst the crazy number of rhododendrons here in Blaen of Stiniog. I've never seen it look quite this vibrant, and I wasn't planning on stopping here this afternoon, but I was driving through and thought, do you know what? I don't know when I'll next be here when it looks this purple, so I should stop. So that's what we're doing. I should apologise once again in this video for the fact that you might hear a screaming baby in the background, but also because lots of the footage in this video looks as though it was shot on a potato. And it wasn't. For the most part I used this, a little action camera, which is a fantastic camera, but for the first time I used it with an ND filter for basically all of the shots. And I shouldn't have done that. So sorry, because yeah, lots of the footage looks rubbish. But photo-wise, I feel like eventually we got somewhere. There are a couple of photos now that I'm getting quite excited about 3 or 4 days on that might make the cut for the project. So it was worth getting absolutely soaked half a dozen times. Also in this video, and indeed the last 2 videos, I've been using the Leica SL3, a camera that I've not had for long enough to review, but I think I have had it for long enough now to give some initial thoughts. Firstly, I think it's a really fun camera to use. For me at least, I find it really engaging. I'm not going to talk about what I think constitutes a fun camera in this video. That's the next video, because frankly, I've only just figured out what makes a fun camera after years and years of trying to search for them. So yeah, that's the next video, but this I think is a fun camera. It's not all good though, because after a week of shooting in Istanbul a couple of weeks back, I noticed that the leatherette is, well, it's crumbling basically where my finger rests on the grip, and my nail must be doing this to the leatherette. And I don't think I've got particularly long or sharp nails, but there we go. It's never happened to me with any other camera before. And it's really disappointing because the perceived build quality of this camera is very, very high. It feels very premium, feels like it's built like a tank. And that shouldn't happen given that it's never happened to me with any other camera. So yeah, that's very disappointing. Now the camera is weather sealed. In fact, it's got an IP rating of 54, which I think is pretty impressive for an interchangeable lens body. But IP54 does not mean waterproof, and I definitely got some moisture in the top screen through the recording of this video. I didn't put the camera away at all through the recording of this video. It stayed out and braved the conditions, but there was also some moisture in the EVF, which cleared up eventually. And it also just got a bit sluggish in the rain, which lots of cameras do. So yeah, definitely not waterproof, but it stood up to the rain okay. I should say I didn't use this M-mount lens in the rain. I used a 28-70, which is weather sealed as well. And then last sort of initial impression for the time being, it's quite a slow camera operationally, even with the latest firmware. An example of that is that you can select a button to bring up the subject detection AF menu. So you can choose what kind of subject you're aiming to photograph, be it a person or an animal or whatever. And when that menu pops up, you can then use the joystick or a dial to cycle through that menu. But the menu isn't a carousel, so if you get to the end of it and then you want to go back to the start, you've got to go all the way back through it rather than just clicking right one more time. And you can't select a button to just cycle through the options like you can on a Sony. On a Sony, you just keep hitting the button and it goes through all the options. And in the menu on the Sony, you can select which options you would like to appear in the cycle and which you wouldn't. And to many people, particularly photographers who don't use that particular feature, that will seem trivial. But I think that's indicative of the differences between this camera and the cameras that this is often compared to, like a Sony A7R type camera. So yeah, it's not a quick camera, and that does contribute to why I like it in many ways, which I'll talk about next week. But that is something I've definitely noticed about it. Anyway, thank you once again for following my ramblings, both on foot and out of my mouth. And a big thank you also to the sponsor of this week's video, Squarespace. I've updated the page on my website, the out of office page, where you can follow along with this project to include some of the photos I took in this video. And that page, and indeed all the pages on my website, were a doddle to put together, even for somebody like me who doesn't know a single line of code. I've been using Squarespace for over 10 years now. It has become integral to my business, and it's where I sell my books, my presets, my prints, my workshops. It's where I show my portfolio, all without any technical knowledge whatsoever. And if you're a photographer and you'd like to showcase your work online, then just go to squarespace.com to start a free trial. And after that, if you'd like to make a purchase, just go to squarespace.com/James for 10% off that first purchase. Like I say, you don't need to know anything about setting up websites. It's all template based, drag and drop, very simple to use, very easy to get a professional looking website. So yes, big thank you to Squarespace for their continued support of this channel, and a big thank you to you for watching. And next time, as I say, we'll talk about fun cameras. See you then. Cheers.